Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Non-Scripted Ramblings. I'm Kendall Richardson. Thank you once again for joining me as I completely wrap up and conclude my journey through history. What an experience this has been. It's been so much fun for me, and I hope it's been so much fun for you as well watching. Thank you so much for everyone who has taken the time out of your schedules in these awful and troubled times to hopefully find some fun and celebration by looking back on such a great album that really deserves way more recognition than what it gets. And history is now 25 years old. It's crazy to even think about it. Like I said at the end of my last video, it's been 25 years since little old me would come home from school and sit behind the couch in the lounge room on these bean bags and put on these massive headphones and just listen to every song at full volume, bam, 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 and just lose myself in that world completely and utterly for hours. I would just sit there and I'd listen. I didn't do anything else. This is before, you had your phones you could do anything on and to pass the time or anything else. I just would sit there and listen and just take it all in. And it's really just shaped my taste in music so much. And I've also said during this series that the Dangerous album really, was the album I discovered Michael Jackson on, but history is what cemented my love for him as a musician and really kind of opened me up to the world of Michael Jackson in broadening the horizons in terms of him musically, for starters. So one thing I haven't mentioned about history yet is the fact that it's actually a double album. It's a multi-disc album. I'm sure most of you are aware of this, but this was the first time the world actually had a collection of greatest hits of Michael Jackson, since he moved to Epic Records in the 70s. There were no, there were Motown best-ofs and stuff that comprised of Jackson 5 and his solo stuff with Motown, but there'd never been, since Off the Wall, there hadn't been a best-of Michael Jackson, and this is something that he'd been working on, that they've been trying to get him to do since the late 80s. So in 1989, for anyone who doesn't know, that's when the work on Dangerous started, and it originally started as a best-of called Decade, and it was going to focus on, 79 to 89, Off the Wall, Thriller, and Bad. It was just a compilation of those best songs, those singles, those epic classic tracks that we all know and love to this day. It was going to be that. And basically it didn't go ahead because the plan was, as well as doing a best of, it was also supposed to have one or two or three extra new tracks that were gonna be, really exciting and be released as singles, I imagine, to promote the release of Decade in 1989 or 1990. That didn't happen, obviously, because what started with Decade evolved into the album we now know as Dangerous, and thank the gods that it did, because it's my favorite album of all time. Always has been, always will be. I love Dangerous so much. People who know me know how much I love Dangerous. It's it's everything to me. Yes, and that album's turning 30 next year, so guess what Kendall's doing next year? I wonder what. That's gonna be fun. Anyway, so basically that's what happened there. So naturally the next time that Michael and Sony had the opportunity to get a best of out, they did. So history began as similar to Decade, just a best of, with a few extra tracks that then again evolved into the history album, the second disc of the history album, because it just became so, the quality of the music, as I've talked about through these videos, is just so damn good that it had to have its own album. So that it just evolved naturally into becoming that, and they decided to just go, screw it, let's just make it a double album. Let's just, what a great way to market a new Michael Jackson release by chucking all of his best songs from 79 to 91 on this first disc, and then saying like, if you want the best, you've got to buy the new stuff as well. And it's a whole disc of 15 new songs. So some people would have gone, like the casual fans would have gone, oh sweet, I can finally have a best of Michael Jackson. Oh, look at this other disc here with all of these other cool songs. I'm gonna listen to them and become an even bigger fan maybe. And then like diehard fans were just like, oh my god, a whole new album. There's also a best of for the first time ever, and this is, you know, at a time when there was only like, you know, people would make their own mixtapes or whatever, make their own best ofs, but now there was an official best of on a CD for the first time ever. So it was super exciting for so many people for so many reasons at the time. So yeah, huge. And for me, as a 7 or 8 year old kid, kind of just going, holy crap. I can actually listen to older Michael Jackson songs now. This is when I discovered Michael Jackson before Dangerous. It was the History album. So I have the History album to thank for the first time I heard Billie Jean, Beat It, Thriller, Don't Stop Till You Get Enough, Rock With You. Just all of those classic songs that were just legendary by this point. This was how I discovered them and listened to them for the first time. I mean, granted, I remember preferring listening to disc 2 because it had the new stuff. It had the contemporary stuff at the time. It was the new, the fresh, all the hits, you know. So I really enjoyed the modern music a bit more. But listening back to all the older stuff, like I remember falling in love with Rock With You at a young age, you know, listening to this. Just, that was, out of all the early stuff, I think Rock With You is probably my favorite. At the time, it's changed now, but then that was the song that I just loved. It's just, that chorus is so great. The whole song is so great. Yeah, I love Rock With You. But yeah, that was the first time I heard, yeah, all those songs, Billie Jean and The Way You Make Me Feel as well, and Wanna Be Starting Something, and She's Out of My Life, and Bad, and Heal the World. Oh, not Heal the World. I'd already heard Heal the World. What am I talking about? You know, so there was 15 songs on this first disc that was from 79 to 91, Off the Wall through to Dangerous. And that was my introduction to the back catalogue of Michael Jackson. That's all I'd heard until, you know, later on when I started actually being able to, you know, ask Mum and Dad to buy me his other albums later on. So yeah, that was that. It's a very exciting time, So I couldn't really find an exact appropriate release date for History because the internet was conflicting. There are 2 release dates that I found. One was the 16th of June, 1995, and the other was the 20th of June, 1995. So I'm not sure if they're just different release dates for different countries. I don't know, but that's that, I guess. Not really a big deal. Basically came out around this time, so that's why I haven't really decided to put the History countdown to any sort of kind of date because I couldn't figure out the right date, and that's on me, I guess. But just, you know, why not turn it into a whole month of celebration? It's 25 years old this month, so let's just do a whole month. It's fine. Yeah, and the cool thing about it too is that Disc 1 was called History Begins, and Disc 2 was called History Continues. So very, very clever. The full title of the album actually is History, Past, Present, and Future Book 1. And for the longest time, I always wondered if there was ever going to be a Book 2, or, you know, were we supposed to be getting a sequel to History? Like, was there supposed to be more that we never got? And I couldn't really figure that out either. On my little research that I did, I'm sure there's an answer somewhere that I just didn't find, so please comment below if you know the answer. I feel like I remember hearing or reading that there was supposed to be a part 2 down the track, but it just never came to fruition, for reasons unknown, I suppose. But yeah, that's the full official title of the album, so it's a long one. Speaking of the title, the word history has a lot of meaning in this case. I mean, traditionally, the word history refers to, you know, just focusing on events of the past, studying them, learning from them. Everything that's happened to humanity up until now is part of history. The word actually comes from the ancient Greek historia, which means knowledge from inquiry. So that's where that comes from. But the really cool thing about what MJ did with the word history is that he kind of morphed it into something to represent him as well. And, you know, the album very much does focus on, especially with the song history, obviously, as I've mentioned, it focuses on human history and historical events that have taken place. And yeah, it's been woven into Michael Jackson's own history. So the really cool thing that I've always loved that he did, it's so clever to me, it's always just been really clever, the fact that Michael chose to capitalize the first 3 letters of the word, because, you know, every time I type out the name of the album, it's capital H-I-S and then lowercase T-O-R-Y. That's how you spell it. That is how you spell history if you're an MJ fan. Because it's just so clever, because it separates one word into 2, meaning his story. And it's such a perfect encapsulation of this entire double album. The fact that disc 1, History Begins, is, you know, looking back on Michael Jackson's own recording history. It's looking back at all of the big hits, all of the incredible pieces of music that he put out over, you know, the course of 12 years. You know, that really kind of cemented him as the king of pop. It's his own history, right? His musical history. Disc 2, History Continues, not only is a reflection of where his career is heading, like musically, the changes that he's going through, and the new sounds and new styles and all of that, new producers and everything, but it's the entire theme of it, right, is, as I've said numerous times during my videos, is it's the theme of, you know, him responding to 1993 and what happened to him and the heartache he was put through. So it's about injustice. It's about the terrible media that treated him awfully, especially during this time. It's just about really getting that anger out there, getting those feelings out there, looking for that catharsis of just expressing every single feeling, the heartache, the heartbreak, the very strong emotions, the tragedy of it all, the sorrow of it all, the empowerment of it all, the optimism in the end with Smile. You know, just there's so many different themes that kind of come from the events of 93 that he put into this album, and that's his story. So that's why the title, for me, just works on so many levels. It's so perfect. It's poetic to me, the way it's been used, just, you know, to reflect so many different things about human history, and then about his own history, what he's been through personally and what he's been through professionally. It's perfect. It's the perfect title for his album, and the choice to capitalize those first 3 letters means everything. That separates it from just being called history. It's his story. It's gorgeous. I love it so much. Gosh, what else could I say? The cover of the album is really cool. I really like the statue. I used to stare at it for ages, like seeing if I could find any kind of details that I hadn't discovered before, like I used to do with the Dangerous album, just study it, you know, look for new things. But yeah, it's a beautiful statue that was sculpted by a visual effects artist by the name of Diana Walczak in 1994-95. She's really cool. I had no idea she actually worked in film. And yeah, she's actually worked in the 90s. She worked on some pretty big films like Honey, I Blew Up the Kid, Clear and Present Danger with my man Harrison Ford. Love that. She worked on the original Stargate film that stars Kurt Russell. She worked on Stallone's Judge Dredd, X-Men 2 as well, and the first Fantastic Four film that had Chris Evans and Jessica Alba. She was part of the visual effects teams on all of those films, and many more. So if you want to check out her filmography, her IMDb page is there for your viewing pleasure. But she was tasked with helping to, you know, bring MJ to life in you know, a new way that hadn't really been done before, and this, you know, this really cool statue. And yeah, it sounds like it was a really interesting kind of process because of Michael's perfectionism. Like, he was constantly requesting changes and alterations to the work, and until, you know, because Michael was such a perfectionist, he was never really satisfied with anything. So it was so hard to kind of actually get to the right point where it looks, you know, the right way, or if it's a song, if it sounds the right way. You know, it's never going to sound the right way because you're always reaching for that extra mile, and trying to find perfection, you know. It's intense. But I think she did a fantastic job. She captured him beautifully. It's that pose from the Dangerous tour, when he, you know, jumps out from below and comes up. It's really cool. And just, he stands there for like 2 minutes and doesn't say anything, and then as soon as he moves his head, everyone just goes nuts. Oh, it's the best thing ever. I love it so much. But yeah, it's a really, really great statue. It's really, really cool. So yeah, what else can okay, I guess we can talk about sales-wise. Over 20 million copies were sold to this day, worldwide. Over 20 million. Insane numbers. In America, on the 23rd of August in 2018, just before Michael's what would have been 60th birthday, the album was certified 8 times platinum in the United States. That's huge. In Europe, it was certified 6 times platinum in several countries. It's nuts. To this day, it still stands as one of the best multi-disc albums of all time. One of the best ever. Yeah, it's just crazy. What else can I say? The discs were released separately at one point. Disc 1, the best of, was released on its own in 2001 on the 13th of November, and up to 2010 it had sold 4 million copies just on its own. So that's really, really cool. I love the cover to that too. It's just the like that iconic shot of him on his toes with the rhinestone socks, and yeah, it's just gorgeous. It's a gorgeous photo. So there's that, and the second disc, the History Continues part, was actually released on its own in some countries in Europe during 2011. I haven't ever seen what that looks like, so if any fans have a photo, comment below, show me a picture, send me a photo. That'd be really, really cool to see that, because I have not seen that, I don't think. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. It's just such a great album. It's so incredible. I want to show you guys something really cool right now. So you know how it's been hiding up there? It's gone because it's here. This is it. Gotta stop saying this is it, Kendall. No, it's okay. This is the original copy that I had in '95 that my dad bought. I don't think he bought it for me intentionally. I think he bought it for himself to have, and then when I moved out of home, I think I remember asking if I could keep it, and he goes, yeah, it's yours anyway, isn't it? And I'm like, well, I guess you got a point. And yeah, and so it's just always it just became mine over the years. So it has the original like sticker on the front. It's like 150 minutes of music, 15 remastered greatest hits, plus 15 brand new songs, including Scream, duet with Janet Jackson, and Childhood, the theme from Free Willy 2. And it's got a 52-page history colour booklet. And interestingly enough, this was released in Australia, but colour is spelled without, if you can see that, without the U, the wrong way, the American way. On the back, there's a lovely little dedication from Michael. He says, "Dedicated to all my children of the world, the healthy, the sick, and the dying. I love you dearly, and this album could not have been made without your love and support. I will always love you. Love, MJ." Very, very, very sweet. Yeah, it's so cool. I'm going to open it now just because I need to show you, like, how scratched. I don't know if you can see how scratched this is. I don't think you can. No, it just looks like you see the scratches a little bit? Yeah, it's scratched. That's disc 1. This is how much I used to listen to this. And here's disc 2. Probably, oh, it's actually less scratched. I don't know if you can't really see. Doesn't really translate, but it's actually less scratched for some reason. That's interesting. I thought it'd be the other way around. However, something that is really wrecked, that is great, is the history booklet that was my Bible, my original Michael Jackson Bible, back in the 90s. Here it is, all tattered. It's the original one, and if you see, that's how much I flipped through it. I broke it. It's taped together. I don't know if you can see that, but it's got sticky tape on it. I don't know what year I put that on, but it had to be taped together because it's just that tattered. I just flipped through it so much, and you know, little Kendall had no regard for treating things delicately when she was a child. So, but yeah, there's that photo. That's like the iconic shot that was used for the cover of the single disc release of History Begins, the greatest hits stuff. But yeah, it's such a beautiful thing. It's just filled with pages and pages of beautiful photos and credits. There's a list of all the awards he won. There's dedications from like Jackie O, Elizabeth Taylor, Steven Spielberg, so many wonderful people he knew and worked with. Like, it's just, it's crazy. It's a history of himself, his career, his life, everything. I was obsessed with looking through this and looking at the photos and just, yeah, falling in love basically, as a kid, just to this day, and I still have it. I treasure it. It's one of my favorite pieces of MJ memorabilia that I own, this original one, because like, look at how thick, it's still thick, it's so thick. That's how they made double albums back in the 90s, just very thick with a double C. Maybe I should talk about the history teaser before I wrap this up. There was actually a video released in 95 that was, you know, a teaser for the album that was epic and huge, and I think it was shot in Romania, and Michael's kind of leading this army marching through this town, and the townspeople are cheering for him. He's, as you know, the great person that he is, and just celebrating him, and he's just waving to them with a big smile on his face, and it's all beautiful and stuff. And then they unveil the making of the statue and the statue itself, and it's so huge. Yeah, that's a really epic teaser. It's really cool. It goes for like 5 minutes or something, I think. Yeah, and then in promotion for the album, the statue, actually, they used it to promote the album by floating it down rivers, most notably the Thames in London. There's footage on YouTube of that floating down the river. They actually had to pull up the bridge, the Tower Bridge, just to let it through. So yeah, pretty epic promotion for an epic album, that I still love to this day, and so many fans obviously do, because it's so great. But yeah, really just, it's a nice time capsule of the mid-90s for Michael and what he was going through at that time in his life. But yet again, I say some of the music has just still remained timeless to me, like especially Scream. It's so timeless. They Don't Care About Us as well has aged very well and is still, as I've said, being used today, is still relevant today, and sadly may continue to be relevant for quite some time. But it's such a powerful song, and just everything, even Stranger in Moscow, like there are so many songs on that album that could be from like released now. That's how great the quality of it all is, and how beautiful, and just the genius of the entire thing. And not just Michael Jackson, but the incredible collaborators and songwriters and producers and engineers that worked with him during this time period in 94 and 95. Like, just thank you all so much for your hard work that just has left this legacy that continues to inspire me and inspire so many people worldwide. So thank you so much. And Michael, I love you wherever you are. Thank you. Yeah, that's it, guys. That's History 25. Thank you so much. I don't really have anything else to say. I mean, I could go on and on and on and on and on and on, of course, but you know, that's just the way I feel about Michael Jackson. He's just incredible. So go listen to the album, go turn it up to 11, blast it through your speakers, listen to it, let it wash over you, and take it in and feel it, and just vibe with it and dance, and by God, dance to it. It's so great. So there you go, guys. Happy 25th anniversary to history. Thank you for watching. God, I can't believe this is over. Alright, thank you again so much. It's time to celebrate and continue to celebrate because it's still June and I'm celebrating all month, so I'm just gonna go blast the album tracks now, I think, before my brother gets home from work. So thank you so much everyone for watching. I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. But until we meet again, I've been a Kendall Richardson and you've just experienced non-scripted ramblings.